Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel of Kendra Engineering College, Bantwal. In today's video session, we'll check regarding the features of the ARM design philosophy along with the rules that are used for the instruction formation for the ARM design philosophy. So in the previous video session, what we have seen is we have checked regarding the basic difference between the microcontroller and microprocessor. We have seen regarding the evolution of ARM processor. We have also seen why ARM processor has turned out to be one of the most popular processors among all. After studying all these particular details, we checked what is the architecture ARM processor is following, and we came to know that RISC is the architecture what has been followed in the ARM processor. Once we know that it is following a RISC architecture, we try to know what are the design rules that was followed in the RISC architecture, and we came to know there were four basic rules which was being followed in the RISC design architecture, and they were instruction, pipelining, registers, and load store architecture. And we studied the detail, or we studied every rule in detail. We checked out what our instructions should be looking like, what should be the time duration taken by the instruction, how the instruction should be written. And when coming to the pipelining, we checked out what does this pipeline got to do with the RISC design architecture. We checked regarding the registers that are existing in the RISC design architecture. And we also studied regarding the load store architecture, what was being followed in the RISC architecture. Moving on further, in this video session, we are going to check some of the features what we can normally see in a RISC architecture, or you can see in the ARM design philosophy or in the RISC design philosophy, what is the normal features that can be seen. So the features that have driven the ARM processor's design. So the basic features what have driven the ARM processors till date or in the industries are, the first one is battery power. Normally what happens is uh, when we consider a processor needs power supply for its operation. So normally, if you speak about your mobile phone or your any portable embedded systems, everything will require its own power supply. So normally, the ARM processors are specially designed to be small. So when we speak about our embedded system, which will be using ARM processor, they are normally designed small. When we say that the processors are designed small, they normally tend to consume less power, thereby extending the life of the battery. So this is the first thing. So normally when you say that you are going to follow the RISC design philosophy, you need to make sure the battery what is used in the embedded system which has got ARM processor should be having very extended life. So in order to keep the battery life extended, you normally design the embedded system small, or the size will be reduced. The second parameter what we can see in the ARM design philosophy is high code density. So when I say the portable embedded system, you can say that the portable embedded systems will normally be small in size. That is the entire device. Out of this entire device, the memory what will be allocated will also be very small. So the code what you are going to write to make that embedded system work should be confined within this particular memory that is allocated. See, it's given here. Embedded systems have got very limited memory due to the cost or maybe due to the physical size restriction, because you cannot say that I'll keep a bigger memory because your embedded system itself is very small. So obviously you should be having a memory which will be very small in size, and the cost of the memories, whatever we are going to use in embedded systems, will also be costlier. So that is the second thing. And the memory, whatever we are going to use, should be having high code density, which means that smaller the area, it should be capable to hold all the codes that will be able to make your embedded system functional. So that is the second feature. Moving on to the third feature, embedded systems are price sensitive, quite obvious. So price sensitive in the sense you expect your embedded systems to be as cheaper as possible, because whenever I buy the cell phones also, or cell phones, I'll be looking into the cost of that particular cell phone, right? And this price sensitive basically depends on the size of the memories what we are going to use. So what we normally do is, in order to make your embedded system cheaper, we'll be using slow and low cost memory devices. So once these memory devices are cheaper, they will normally not be having higher speed. But that is one of the feature what we don't expect. We do not expect our portable systems or portable embedded systems to be very fast, isn't it? So we use memories which are slower, thereby the size, I mean cost of that also will be reduced. However, when you say that speed is the parameter what I'm looking into the embedded system, then I'll go with the costlier memories to get substantial savings. Essential for high volume applications like digital cameras, because whenever I speak about cameras, it needs to have memories in terms of terabytes. So when I speak about the costlier memories, the terabyte memory will be very costlier, isn't it? So I tend to use memories which are cheaper and slower. Second one is size of the embedded system. So you cannot say that, sir, I'll carry the embedded system which is very big. You normally expect your embedded system to be as small as possible, right? Because you want it to be portable. You want that embedded system to be carried along with your people, right? So you need to reduce the size, the area of the die taken up by the embedded processor. So what you can do is, the processor or the peripherals, whatever you are going to use, you need to make sure that it will fit within the given area of the embedded system, which is portable. Moving on, the further feature, what we can observe in the ARM design or ARM embedded system is, normally the embedded system which has got ARM processor will be having hardware debug technology. This technology is a very specific technology which will be found only in the ARM processor. Now what is this hardware debug technology? Hardware debug technology is a technology which will let the engineer or the designer see what is happening while the processor is executing the code. That is, let me say you have written 100 line ka code. So every line after the execution, this hardware debug technology will be letting the engineer or the designer see that what is actually happening in the processor when that particular code is executed. This particular technology will be helping the engineer resolve the issue faster. For example, let us say that after executing somewhere around 24th line, after executing the 24th line, the system will come to halt or the system will stop. If there is no hardware debug technology, what my engineer has to do is he should go on checking each line by line, he has to go on checking, or the code has to be checked. Now, because of the hardware debug technology, what he can do is he can run the code and he can see what is happening up till the 23rd line. Up till the 23rd code, he can check out what is happening. Now, when 24th code is executing, he comes to know that the system is halting, right? Now he can directly go to that line which is having that 24th code, he can rectify it and he can again make the system work. So this is one additional technology which is used in the embedded system that uses ARM processor. Finally, a contradictory statement to make. Till now what we studied was, we studied about ARM, we studied about the history of ARM, we studied about what is that risk architecture, we studied what are the rules that are used in the risk architecture, and we studied the features of the risk architecture. Finally, a contradictory statement, what happens here is, they say that ARM, ARM core is not pure risk architecture. Why is it so? It follows almost 90% of the things in the risk architecture, but it is not 100% pure risk architecture. because of the constraints of its primary application, the embedded system. In some sense, the strength of the ARM core is that it does not take the risk concept too far. So basically, why do we call it as not a pure risk architecture? Yes, maybe because of the instructions. We'll check out what is that point which is making my ARM processor deviate from the risk design philosophy, or the purest of the risk philosophy what we have studied till now. So finally they say that ARM core is not a pure risk architecture. Somewhere at some point of time it will be deviating from the risk architecture to the CISC architecture. So these are the basic features what you can see in your risk design philosophy. The first one is battery power. The second one is your high core density. The third one is price sensitive. The fourth one is die size. The fifth one is hardware debug technology. The last one to say risk, ARM core is not a pure risk architecture. ARM processor follows 90% of the risk design philosophy, but not completely. So these are the features. So remember, you need to be very careful when you're answering the question. The first one is design rules. Okay, the 4 points what we studied are design rules, that is instruction, pipelining, registers, low store architecture are design rules. What we studied right now are the features of a risk design philosophy that is used in your ARM core. Moving on further, the next topic what we need to say is we need to check regarding the instruction set of the embedded system. We have already studied, when I spoke about the instruction set, I said that it is of same size, or I said that it is of same length. Already I have told it to you. Already told it to you, it executes in one machine cycle. I said that it is going to execute in one machine cycle. I said that it is simple. I said that the instructions are simple. I also said that the instructions are converted into machine language in the compiler. So most of the task in case of my RISC machine is on the compiler, because my compiler should make sure that every instructions will be broken down into a simple instructions which will be converted into the machine language. See here, the contradictory statement what I made at the end of the features is actually based on this. The ARM instruction set differs from the RISC definition in several ways that makes ARM instruction set suitable for embedded applications. So why did they deviate it? Was it purposefully done, or did it happen by itself? The RISC architecture was deviated in the ARM core purposefully so that I can make my ARM processor fit for almost all the embedded system applications. So how does it differ? In what ways it differ? It differs in terms of your variable cycle execution, which means that I would have said it executes in one machine cycle, but practically all the instructions doesn't get executed in single machine cycle. Inline barrel shifter is one more additional component what will be added in the ARM processor, what we are going to check right now. Thumb 16-bit instruction set. So we'll check what is this thumb 16-bit instruction set. Conditional execution. Every instructions will be executed only after a particular condition is getting executed. Enhanced instruction. You have some additional instructions in addition to 20,000 instructions, whatever I said. We'll check this one by one. So variable cycle execution for certain instructions. Not every ARM instruction executes in single cycle. For example, load store multiple instruction vary in number of execution cycle depending on the number of registers being transferred. For example, let's say it's a processor. Let's say this is a register, this is a register, this is a register. These are all registers. The data is present here. So the data will get processed in the same register, and from there it has to be transferred to this register, from there to this register, and from there to this register. So normally the time duration taken for the data to get executed and the data to be stored in the destination register might vary, which means that your instruction will not get executed in one single machine cycle. That's what he says, that not every ARM instruction executes in single cycle. So that is because of this. The transfer can occur on sequential memory address. That is, between the continuous memory address, the data transfer can happen. Code density is also improved since multiple register transfers are common operations at the start and end of the functions. So basically, variable cycle execution is just because of this. The data what is processed has to be transferred between multiple registers, but data transfer between multiple registers will happen in the single instruction which in fact takes care of the code density. Second point. Second point is inline barrel shifter. Inline barrel shifter, actually what happens is, if you say this is your ALU, if you say this is your one destination register, this is your second register, this is containing data A and this is containing data B. Now, this data will go to ALU, this data will go to ALU and they will get added up and finally I'll be getting the result C. This is what it happens. Inline barrel shifter is one additional component that is connected in between the register and the ALU, which will do pre-processing of data. So ALU will do the addition, right? For example, you have the data 0001 and you have the data 1000. I want this data to be shifted right by one position, so it will become 1000. So the shifting operation will happen in the inline barrel shifter. That's what I said. Pre-processing of the data will happen in the barrel shifter, which is present in between the register and the ALU. So inline barrel shifter leading to more complex instruction. The inline barrel shifter is a hardware component that pre-processes one of the input register before it is used by an instruction. This expands the capability of many instructions to improve the core performance and code density. Sir, why do you use inline barrel shifter? Because you wanted to shift the data. If you wanted to shift the data, you are not ready to waste the time in the ALU. So what you did is you provided an additional coprocessor here, not the processor, coprocessor, which could actually shift the data as per the requirement. That is what is inline barrel shifter. So normally my inline barrel shifter will not do any other pre-processing other than shifting of the data either to right or either to left. That is what is inline barrel shifter. Moving on to thumb 16-bit instruction. ARM enhanced the processor core by adding second bit instruction called the thumb. So what happens here is, suppose let me say your instruction is 32-bit, okay? Your instruction is 32-bit. Your processor is 16-bit, which means that at the time it can execute 16-bit instruction. Now this 32-bit has to be broken into two, which should be 16-bit and 16-bit instruction, and later it has to be fed. So how many machine cycles are going to be taken by this processor? It's going to take 2 machine cycles, right? Now what ARM has done is, this 32-bit instruction, instead of getting divided into 16-bit and 16-bit instruction, it has added one additional instruction which is called as thumb instruction. This thumb instruction set has got the capacity to convert 32-bit instruction into 16-bit instruction directly. So imagine you need a memory which needs 32-bit of space. Now if this 32-bit instruction, if it can be converted into a 16-bit instruction, so now what has happened is code density has improved. So this thumb instruction set is one additional instruction set which has been introduced by ARM in order to reduce all the instructions into 16-bit. Almost all the instructions are reduced to 16-bit, so thereby reducing the code density. Moving on further, conditional execution. This is quite known fact actually. You write programs, you write instructions, this is executed, and when this has to be executed, there is condition to be satisfied. So after the instruction is executed, your processor will go and check the flag register. You know about flag register, right? You know about flag register, parity flag, all those flags you know, zero flag, carry flag, trap flag, you know all those particular flags, right? So normally this particular flag registers are checked by the processor when the processor goes with execution of the next instruction. That's what it says here, conditional execution. Every instruction is executed only after a specific condition has been satisfied. If the condition is not satisfied, no, this is not executed. The condition say goes wrong, this entire things are pending. So after every execution, your processor will go and check the conditional flags, whether the condition has been checked, satisfied, only then it goes. Enhanced instruction set. This is one additional thing, okay? You have a processor here. What you do is, you add one more additional processor. You can call this as coprocessor. For example, let me say I want some digital signal processing to be done here. I need some signal processing to be done here, which cannot be done by the processor. So you add an additional processor here. You add an additional processor here, which can do the digital signal processing or communication data processing. Now, the instructions which is for your ARM will not work. Instruction which is for ARM will not be working for this coprocessor. So what has to be done? I need to write separate instructions, right? I need to write separate instructions which will work on this particular coprocessor. That is what it says. The enhanced digital signal processor instructions were added to standard ARM instruction set. So this already has got 20,000 instructions. In addition to that, I have added some instructions which will make the coprocessor work very efficiently. This additional features have made ARM to be one of the most commonly used 32-bit embedded processor cores. So right now what we know is, we know the rules, we know the features, and we know regarding the instruction set. How should be the instruction set? What are the additional components that are present in the processor that helps in the execution of the instructions getting simpler, or getting instructions getting executed in a lesser time. So all these things are known. So they might ask you any one of this question, out of which they might target on rules and features of your ARM processor. So right now what we'll do is we'll wind up with this particular topic. We will go with the further discussion regarding the ARM with the embedded system later. So right now what we have done is, we know in and out of the ARM processor. We know what is ARM processor, we know what is the architecture, we know what is the instruction set, we know what are the different features, we know what are the different rules, we know how the instruction looks like. All these things is known to us. So right now what we need to do is, we need to use this ARM processor as an embedded system. It may be a mobile phone, it may be a remote control, it may be a AC controller, it may be a thermostat, it may be a temperature regulator, anything. So we need to use it. So we'll check that in the coming video classes. Thank you.